everyone, welcome back to Homegrown Passion. Today's video, we're going to talk about tomatoes. I'm going to show you how to have high yields plus great tasting tomatoes. So stay tuned. Here we are with my tomato plants. It's Ribulski, which is a hydroponic heirloom type tomato. And these guys they were seeded in the middle of November of 2023, and now it's the end of June. So they've been in actual production for 4 months. But I want to show you something really cool. This plant here, right there, he wraps around, goes all the way to here. He's 28 feet long because they're an indeterminate tomato plant, meaning they keep producing as long as you keep letting them grow and you have to lean and lower them. So I want to talk about getting the plants started. With these tomato seeds, they're about $1 each, so I want to make sure I give them the best start. So I always use rapid rooters. I've been using them for years and they work really well at getting a good, almost 100% germination rate. And then let's talk about the growing medium in the beto buckets. This year I decided to go with 100% perlite, and few years back I used to mix a little cocoa or a little bit of vermiculite. But I decided to go back to the original plan of 100% perlite, and it's working out really well for me this year. So let's talk about some production numbers. I've harvested 980 pounds of tomatoes off my 40 plants in 4 months. So that so far is 24 pounds per plant, which is average. What I've read about is usually 15 to 20 pounds per plant. And these guys, I'm going to keep them in production through October because that's how far my farm market goes, so I'm going to get way above the average. And the reason we are able to do that is we have the right nutrition come into the plants. So let's go over and talk about the dosatron system and some of the nutrients. So here's the heart of my beto bucket system. It's my dosatrons, and this is all the nutrients. So I have 3 dosatrons, one for tank A, which is macronutrients, micronutrients, and my pH adjust. I also have a Blue Lab Guardian to make sure my EC and my pH are correct, because I run my EC around 2.0 and my pH around 6.2, because you want to make sure your pH is okay so the plants take up all their nutrients. And I have my timers. And right now, today, it's like 80 degrees and pretty sunny. I have it coming on every 20 minutes for 3 minutes at a time. Now last week we were in the 90s for 5 days in a row. I had to really increase the water output because the plants, I came in here during the middle of the day and they were all wimpy. So just got to watch your plants to see what you should do for your timing. But that's basically what I do. And like I said, in the wintertime I do it less. And then in my tanks, in the macro, I have calcium nitrate, potassium nitrate, and my iron. And in tank 2, I have the magnesium sulfate, potassium sulfate, and monopotassium phosphate. And tank 3, like I said, is the pH. Oh, and also in tank 2 goes all the micronutrients. Now I do have 2 different formulas. So when I first start my tomato plants, I have my regular formula, and then once they start getting their second flower cluster, so it's early on, you want to do a boosted formula. And that's where you increase your calcium nitrate and your potassium nitrate. Well, my dosatron system is in the area I call the control tunnel because it has all my controls. So let's talk about lighting and heating for tomato plants. And I'm going to talk about it for winter production because, like I said, these guys started producing in February, so I had to have them growing all winter. So tomatoes like daytime temperatures anywhere between 70 and 82, and then nighttime temperatures 63 to 67. So in the wintertime, you really have to keep your greenhouse warm, and you're able to do that. And the other thing you have to worry about in wintertime production is light. So I do have lights over my beto buckets, and I kept them on for 14 hours a day, from 6 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. And that's how I was able to keep my production going. So let's talk about plant care. As you can see, all the bottom leaves have been removed. You want to keep the plants open and airy so the airflow goes through and you don't need all these dead leaves and you get bugs and all kinds of nasty pathogens. And we try to keep 8 leaves on the plant. That's our goal. And another thing you really need to do is make sure you don't have any suckers. You want to have one stem growing so you can keep it wrapping around and not get too bushy, so you can see all the suckers that we've taken off. You know how I mentioned about making sure your plants are watered correctly and the tops got wimpy, and how mine did last week when we were in the 90s? Well, here's a guy that was really affected by it. Lost some of the leaves up here. I mean, he's going to be fine. He's going to keep growing, but I lost the tomato cluster and got nice crispy leaves. We did have 2 casualties this past month. We lost 2 plants to botrytis, the gray mold. So as soon as we saw that they were affected, we went ahead and just cut them out so nobody else would get affected. You know, the best part and the most fun thing about plant care is pollination. And I can see I have a few flowers up there that are ready to be pollinated. So let me go get my secret weapon for that. Here's my secret weapon, toothbrush. All I do is just kind of tickle them a little bit so they pollinate. There we go. I think I've said in past videos that we do not have enough tomato plants to have a beehive. You know how you have bumblebees that can pollinate these. So I just go through every other day and hand pollinate. And along with pollination is the tomato cluster. You know, these being a nice heirloom slicer tomato, I only want to have 2 to 3 tomatoes on each cluster. But when you pollinate, sometimes you get 5 or 6, so I want to go through and cut off the small ones so I can get nice, big, juicy tomatoes. But here's a cluster that has way too many tomatoes on it. I let them get a little bit bigger so I make sure I get the best ones on there. So I am going to cut this little guy off and he's going to be fed to the chickens. Well, let's talk about my least favorite subject, but it's one of the most important subjects, and that's pests that you get on your tomato plants. Fortunately, I should knock on wood someplace, I haven't had aphids or spider mites, but I always, every year, get whiteflies. And they are a real pain, but the best thing I found to take care of them is insecticidal soap. Because what that does, it covers the adult, suffocates them, and also suffocates any eggs, because they love to lay their eggs on the inside of the leaf. I'm going to put a link down below for the insecticidal soap that I like to use. I've tried homemade remedies and different products, and the one that I'm linking to is the best so far for me. And you want to make sure when you're spraying or fogging or however you want to do it, you want to make sure you cover the whole leaf surface, because if you miss any spots, the eggs or the adult's going to live. And another thing you want to do is make sure you do it in the evening. You don't want to do it when it's going to be sunny out, because the soap then will burn the plants. So I usually do it just right before sunset, and I've had really good luck with that. I do have a few tomato plants out in the high tunnel. I'm going to take you guys out there and show you what they're doing. My determinate tomato plants, totally different than what I have in the greenhouse. So I only have one in each bucket because these guys bush out, and being determinate, that means that all the tomatoes come ripe at once. They don't just keep growing. Once they set their fruit and they're done, they're done. So you don't trim them back, you don't cut off the suckers, you just let them get nice and bushy. I should have put cages around them so they don't fall over, because I don't want my fruit sitting on the mat here in the high tunnel. So I'm going to drop some bobbins down, and I got bobbins, which are pretty inexpensive, like 50 cents each. And then I'm going to use a vine clip and probably drop like 4 down to each one of the plants, and just find the main stem and just hook them up and just let them grow. So you're probably wondering how these 4 tomato plants are getting nutrients. Well, they're here in the strawberry house. You can see my beautiful strawberries that need to be harvested. So they're getting the strawberry formula, and so far they're growing really well, and they're nice and green and setting some fruit. So I'm not really worried about having a major production on these. I just want to have enough for us to do some spaghetti sauce, some tomato sauce, maybe some ketchup. So they're just for us. My last farm market for this year is the first weekend of October. So I'm definitely keeping my tomato plants going to that time, maybe a week or so after. And then I'm going to pull them and disinfect and get them all ready to start all over. Pepper plants, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Probably pull them and do the same thing, disinfect and start all over again. So I hope you guys liked today's video about tomatoes and the production. And like always, please leave me questions, comments, or suggestions down below, and we'll see you guys next video.